Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me. A couple days ago, I did a video where I was answering your budgeting questions when it comes to pretty much adult children. I would say teens, adult children. We talked about weddings, graduation open houses. We talked about cell phones. We talked about our boys more responsible with money or our girls. So if you haven't watched that video yet, you'll want to click in the show more down below and you can resource it there. You can also watch my other videos pertaining to budgeting with younger kids, teen years, and everything else, all things budgeting. One of the questions that I did receive back a month ago when I did my budgeting for children, both younger and teenagers, was how do your adult children establish credit? Well, there's so much to say on this. I really felt it needed a video all to itself, and that is what we are going to do today. I am going to share 4 different ways that you can help your adult child establish credit, and we've done all of these in our home, so it's going to be worth it to share what has worked and what has not worked. The first way that I want to mention is co-signing on a credit card for your adult child. Let's say your child is 18 years old, you want to start establishing credit, you get a credit card for them, you co-sign on that card, and then both of you could start using it. You could just have your child use it, but I think it's also good to have the parents use the card as well. You want to be using the card and then paying the card off every single month, and that will build credit. There is a caveat, however, it's what you are using the card for. If you want to teach your children about the proper use of credit card and not credit card abuse, so there's credit card use, there's credit card abuse. You want to have some parameters or some boundaries as to how this card gets used. It should be used for necessities, filling up their gas tank to get to work every day or to get to school. What you want to discourage is the use of this card for material type things, shopping, dining out, entertainment, going to the movies, whatever. If your child is starting to develop the habit of using a credit card for those types of things, they are going to be more likely to use their credit card for those things down the road. And we all know that once you start using a credit card for things that you really don't need and you really don't have the money to purchase, you are going to end up in credit card debt. This is also an opportunity for you to be paying attention to the purchases that are being made on this card. Therefore, you have an opportunity to talk to your adult child about those purchases. If you do see that the credit card was used at a restaurant, let's say, you could explain to them. If you don't have the money ahead of time to eat out, then you're going to be eating at home. Use the card for necessities and make sure the card gets paid off monthly. That will establish and build credit. The second way to establish credit is pretty similar. It's still getting a credit card, and we did this with our oldest daughter who is now 25. So back when she was like in high school and she was old enough to get a credit card, we went into our financial institution and we got what was called a prepaid credit card, and this will establish credit as well. We put $500 on a credit card. We put it in her name. She proceeds to use the card, or the parents do, whatever. As long as the card is being used, that is also going to establish credit. You would have to check with your financial institution if they offer something like this. You would be surprised how many financial institutions have programs for high school and college age kids. I think people just don't do the legwork to find these resources out. Call, make a simple phone call, or get on their website. I definitely would recommend making that phone call. You could find out a lot of information and see what you can do to help your child establish credit. The third way is to co-sign on a car for your child. Now, this is something that we've done, but we've also not done, and we are thinking about doing it again. So that's how parenting works. I talk about this all the time in my budgeting and parenting videos. We try things, it works, we don't like it, we do like it. It's okay. We're not perfect, and we learn a lot about life in general by tweaking things and figuring out what worked for us and what didn't. And sometimes what worked at one time may not work later, but The third way, co-signing on a car. So let's say your child is 16, they're going to be working, it's time to get a car. I will leave that up to you if you're going to have your child purchase the car or you as the parents are going to purchase the car. Whether you have the cash to purchase the car or not, you go and get a car loan and you put the car loan in the child's name and you co-sign on that. So let's say you are going to purchase a car for $6,000 for your 16 or 17-year-old. You have the cash, so you could just pay cash for the car. That's great. But if your goal is to start establishing credit for your child, whether you have it or not, you get a car loan. And let's say you're only getting the loan for $3,000. You put it in the child's name, you co-sign, they start making the payments, or you just take the payment out of the account that you're housing the money in that you already had, and you put it on the car every month. The key is that you make the child make the payment, okay? Let me say that again. You make the child, the teenager, the young adult, whatever, make the payment. Again, we are phasing ourselves out of a job. At the end of our job, we have adult children who need to know how to adult. What happens so often with parenting is we are doing everything for our kids. And then we wonder why later on they're so irresponsible and they're struggling so much as an adult. I like to call this good intention, but insufficient parenting. The intention is there to make your child ready to go out and be an adult, but you're doing so many of the things for them that they need to be able to do on their own. So you're phasing yourself out of that job. Make the child make the payment. So again, co-signing on a car loan is another great way for your child to build credit. Again, you want to be paying attention and making sure those payments are being made, but you need to gradually let the leash out so that they are taking the responsibility to know when that payment needs to go through. Set a reminder on your phone, whatever you need to do. Give them the responsibility. Our history with cars and our children, and I mentioned this in my budgeting for teens video, we purchase a used car for our kids when they're 16 because they are working and they need to get back and forth to work. I cannot be your taxi cab because I have to work and your dad has to work. So we need you to have a car. Now the car budgeting allowance has went up with each child because there are years in between each child and the cost of a car goes up. I also shared that my husband found out that the newer the car, the less work he had to do on these used cars. So we upped the ante a little bit, and that's okay. That's how things work in our home. It's not all about fair or what she got is what I get. Nope, it doesn't work that way. But we did co-sign on a car loan for our first and second daughters to help build and establish credit. We paid for those cars though, but still having it in their name helps to build that. Our third daughter, we did not do that. We had all of the money up front, we just paid cash. Fourth daughter, we did the same thing. We had all the cash up front, we paid the whole thing off. We had the money for our first and second as well, but we chose to do the car loan for the credit purposes. We only have one more child that we will be purchasing a car for, Chloe, or Pips, as most of you know her, is 13. So we have 3 more years, but my husband and I have talked about how we probably will go back to the co-signing on a car loan for her. So like I said, sometimes you do things one way, different the next kid. Like I said, you're always tweaking and changing things as parents, and that's okay. The fourth way for your teenager or your young adult to establish credit, and this is probably the best way, is through a student loan. Whether you're footing that college education bill or they are footing that college education bill, and whether or not you have all of the money up front, having your child get a student loan is a wonderful idea. And we have done this as well. Our girls, even if they've had the money, have gotten student loans to be able to build credit. The other important thing is this loan should be in their name only. I would say that the reason student loans are one of the best ways to establish credit is because they are government supported. Therefore, they are highly recognized. So definitely student loan, you've got your car loans, you've got your credit cards. The other thing that I want to mention that we have found out is Discover Card has been the best service that works with young adults to help establish credit. So if you are a young adult and you are trying to build up your credit, I would definitely look into the Discover Card because they have some wonderful programs. I will also provide some links in the drop-down box as well as on the corresponding blog post that can help you with more questions that you may have or to understand some different things that you can do. So look for the resources that I provide and do the legwork to help your child get to where they need to be to start adulting and have some credit that they can build upon. All right. There is the answer to your question, how to help your children establish credit. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for all of the wonderful contributions that everybody has made in this whole budgeting series. Don't forget, everything will be linked if you want to do a marathon of Tracy's budgeting series. All right, we'll see you in the next video. Take care.